Right, guys, so today we're going to be explaining what conformity is. Right, so first thing we need to know is what is conformity. So conformity is known as yielding to group pressure, or also known as majority influence. So the first type of conformity is compliance. So compliance is publicly but not privately going along with majority influence to gain approval. So an example would be you're with your friends and you're talking about music, and everyone says they like hip hop music. And so because you want to gain approval from this group, which are your friends, and you don't want to get rejected, you say you like hip hop music too. But in your head, what you're actually thinking, so privately, you're not accepting the belief. And so privately, you're rejecting hip hop music because you like, for example, rock music, but you don't want to say it because all your friends like hip hop music and you want to be part of the friendship. So because you want to fit in the group, and so you publicly but not privately. So you have to remember publicly but not privately. Another example, for example, would be being with your friends again, and everyone is talking about football. And everyone says they like a specific football team. In this case, would be Chelsea. And so you say you like it too. So you publicly accept it, but privately you don't. So privately you like another football team, let's say Liverpool. And so you reject Chelsea privately. So this will obviously only be shown in the presence of the group. Oh yeah, so when you're not in the group, you like Liverpool as a team. And so like I said before, the behavior is only shown when you're around your friends. So when you're around your friends, you like Chelsea, but when you're not around your friends, you like Liverpool. And you only do this because you want to fit in, because you want to be part of your group, because you want them to like you. So this is also known as weak conformity because think about it, you're only conforming when you're in the group. So you're not really believing in what they believe in. So it's known as weak conformity for this reason. Because when you leave the group, you have a completely different mindset. So moving on to the second type of conformity, which is identification. Okay, so the second type of conformity you need to know is called identification. And so this is actually a stronger type of conformity if you compare it to compliance. So you can think about it this way. So compliance being the third in position, identification being ranked second, and internalization, because it's the strongest type of conformity, also known as true conformity, being ranked first. And so because identification is stronger than compliance, is second in position. Is an easy way to remember it. So identification is not weak conformity, but it's also not the strongest. So this type of conformity involves publicly and privately accepting the majority influence because one individual, wants to be part of a specific group. So you're publicly and privately accepting the beliefs, the norms and values because you want to join them. So for example, joining the military. You're publicly and privately accepting their influence because you want to gain acceptance. Because if you didn't do so, you wouldn't be part of the military. However, even if it's not a weak conformity, it's also a temporary conformity. And it's temporary because when you leave the military, you're no longer subscribing to the same norms and values you subscribed when you were in the military. So it only works in that specific situation. And if you leave the situation, you start to adopt different type different types of beliefs and different type of norms and values because you're no longer required to act in the same way as when you were in the military. So it's not a weak conformity, but it's also not as strong as internalization because it's only temporary. So the third and last type of conformity you need to know is internalization. So this type of conformity is known as the strongest type of conformity because it lasts forever, because you're internalizing the belief of a specific group. So for example, becoming vegetarian. So the reason why you want to become vegetarian is because you believe that what vegetarians think is actually right. And so you change your mindset and start moving towards the mindset of vegetarians. And so this is described as publicly and privately accepting a majority influence through the adoption of the group's belief. So another way to remember it is, for example, with religion. So let's say you were an atheist previously, but then you became a Christian because you decided to convert to Christianity. And so the reason why you decided to convert is because of internalization, because you thought that Christians' beliefs were actually true, and so decided to subscribe to their beliefs. And so this is known as true conformity because it lasts forever. And so you're not only a Christian when you're in the church, but you're also a Christian when you leave the church. And so obviously Christianity was just an example. You can use any other religion. But an example that I really like to use is becoming a vegetarian. So you're not only eating vegetarian food when you're around your vegetarian friends, but you're also eating in other situations. And so it's not like in identification where you only subscribe to the norms and values depending on the situation you're in. So when you leave the military, for example, you're no longer subscribing to those norms and values. This works differently because in every situation you still adopt the norms and values that you think are truthful. So you still adopt the norms and values of vegetarians because you believe it is the truth, because you believe it is the truth. And so, like I said before, this is an easy way to remember. So compliance being ranked third, identification being ranked second, and internalization being ranked first because it's the strongest type of conformity. Thank you for watching. I really hope this helped, and don't forget to subscribe.